Hello there. Welcome to episode 4 of my Unboxing Your Mindset series. Whether you're listening on audio or watching on the video, thanks for sticking with it. And I really hope you're already getting something out of looking at your mindset in a slightly different way. So I'm going to share my screen for the benefit of those who are watching. And for all of you, whether you're watching or listening, please go to the workbook that is provided. And today we are starting at page 10. Yes, page 10. Sorry about that, just checking everything here. So, session 4 already. Gosh, I've really enjoyed doing these as individual half-hour sessions. Normally my masterclasses are run as a 4-hour training session. And what you may not know is you're actually getting a bonus half hour with this series, because normally in our 4-hour sessions, we have 2 15-minute breaks. So you're actually getting an additional half hour of content that I wrote specially for this series. So what are we going to cover today? Well, one of the things I'm going to do today is to share some resources with you to help you start putting some really strong foundations in place that will help you change and support an open mindset and a growth mindset. We're going to talk a bit about how you create your own timeline, and we're going to carry out a bit of a timeline health check. Now you'll see it says, if you're looking at the video, it says part 1 of creating your own timeline. Well, that's because this is a really significant part of your mindset. And so the next session that we do is also going to be on that. And I'm setting you some homework today that is all very much about the timeline that you have created around you. So let's get started. I've given you some space, a whole page, to make a note of some really good resources. Now, I call these resources to support my mindset, or your mindset, I hope. And that's because I know that during any average day, never mind the kind of days we've had in 2020, early 2021, your mindset goes, you can start with all the fabulous intentions in the morning. You can hear the bird song. I hope you can hear it. I've left the window open today so that you could. You can hear birds singing, or you've opened the curtains and it's a beautiful morning and you think, yes, today I'm going to nail it. Today I'm going to be in the zone. And one little thing can take you to a place where it feels totally different. That's perfectly normal. That's called life. And you wouldn't be normal if that didn't happen. But when it happens, it can be a really inopportune moment, just before you're about to go into a meeting, or you've got a day that's chock-a-block with really important stuff to do, and hello, there's my imposter. So taking 5 minutes, and please don't tell yourself the story that you don't have 5 minutes. You always have 5 minutes. Take the 5 minutes, because it's going to massively enable you to change your entire day. And the way I do that is I go to this pool of resources I've developed that supports me to feel refreshed, renewed, reinvigorated, back on that positive track for the day. And so I'm going to share some of them with you. Now, the one at the absolute top of my list, and it's because that's where it belongs, is this incredible person I know. I am truly, truly honoured to know Ayana Castro. I will never forget the first time I heard her speak. It was on a small stage in front of 100 or so people at a really superb training, 2-day training event run by Lucy Brazier called Executive Secretary Live. And Ayana moved me to the atoms in my soul. I still can't think about her talk without getting goosebumps. And she said certain things that just every time I think of them, you see, I can't help it, I start smiling. Those of you on camera will know I'm now grinning. Things like she talks about our little birdie. She uses the word shenanigans, and who on earth can't love that is the word. We all have these shenanigans, these games we play, this nonsense we tell ourselves. She spoke my language, and I think you may well find she speaks yours. So I encourage you to look up Work Your Package. If you go to facebook.com/work your package, you will find her page. And every Wednesday, she does a short recording live on Facebook called Work Your Package Wednesday. I cannot recommend it enough. She is a wise, wise woman. She's also breathtakingly, refreshingly open and honest, and just a complete joy to listen to. The second thing I've put on here to be a bit cheeky is my own podcast. I'd love you to come and listen. Since December last year, I've changed the format on my podcast, and I do 10 short podcasts every month on one topic. And when I say short, they're usually somewhere between 4 and 8 minutes. So 10 a month is usually about an hour, maybe just over. But they're an easy way for you to focus on mindset and top yourself back up into that space. TED Talks, TED.com. Some of my favorites, well, people talk a lot about Brené Brown and the remarkable talk that she gave on vulnerability. I would encourage you to go and watch her talk on shame. It's a subject that nobody wants to talk about, and everybody should. And I don't use the word should very often. Let's rephrase that. Everyone would benefit from talking more about shame. The next on the list is another TED talk by a woman called Caroline Casey, and it's called Looking Past Limits. Remarkable woman, phenomenal story. Anybody can change their path. They really can, with the right mindset. And then go and look on YouTube. There is, on my YouTube channel, if you look me up on YouTube, you'll find that I have a list of 14 inspiring videos, TED Talks, etc., that people have put together. And if you connect with me on Twitter, if you can't find that on YouTube, connect with me on Twitter @DinahLiversidge. I'll give you the link to the playlist. Nature-based videos. There's an absolutely simple way to get some really easy couple of minutes of topping up that tank. Come and visit my woodland garden. Again, there's a playlist on YouTube, so connect with me and I'll share that with you. One of the other things I love to do is to watch the otters at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And if you search Monterey Bay Aquarium, it will give you their live otter cam. Squealing, joyful delight, just nonsense, total wonderful escapism. And then think about meditation. Meditation is different for all of us. My meditation is never sat cross-legged and silent. It's not who I am. It just wouldn't work for me. But there's a website called mindful.org who have some phenomenal resources that are different types of meditation that can appeal to pretty much anybody. So yeah, take a look at those. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll send you that page. I have a full A4 sheet here showing everybody on camera of resources with all of those plus more. And I'll share the link with you so that you can use some of those. So I hope those are helpful. And I hope that they lead well into what we're going to talk about for a few minutes now. And that is the strong foundations that you need in order to change the set you're operating in. If you want to get out of that romantic, fictitious set of the performer, or you're really, really done with all the hysterical, historical dramas from your imposter, you're going to have really strong foundations to help you change that set. Now, obviously, the first of those foundations is your mindset itself. It's understanding what we've talked about in the videos so far and saying, I can change my set. I can be the person who comes on between the scenes and says, this set doesn't serve me anymore. But it's also about two other really key things. And the first of those is your inner circle. Who have you allowed into that space? Because the people we spend the most time with, the people we spend time being honest and intimate and open with, the people we don't have to put in a performance for, they have a massive influence on the foundation on which we build the mindset. So are they the sort of people who are going to support you to be more open, to challenge and support your imposter? Or are they always full of doom and gloom and negativity? Are they telling you what your limitations are in their reality? I'm not suggesting you go and break up with all your friends. I'm suggesting you think about who you give your time to. And that's really the last point on this list. The people you allow into your timeline create your reality daily. Now, when we talk about timelines, I'm not just talking about that thing on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or wherever you're hanging out, that when you scroll through it, you look at what's happened in your timeline. That's a massive influence, particularly when we've all been spending more time in the virtual timeline than the real one with other people for a good year now. But that real one, that real timeline, that's your day-to-day life. And who you allow into it is, if you are now an adult, it is up to you. It's very, very easy to let people in, allow them to influence us, and feel that we're going in the wrong direction with things, and then blame them. But you have to own this. You are allowing these people into your timeline. So let's do a bit of a health check on what that timeline looks like. And if you look at page 12, and I'm going to get my page in front of me so that we can work through this in the right order, I've put on here time for a timeline health check. Now you may wish to pause the video because these are going to require that you put some real thought, and you're not going to get anything out of doing this exercise if you rush it. But it really is important to think, how can you change something if you're not being honest about its current state? And in order to do that, we have to ask these sorts of questions. And some of them are wonderful, but you may not have the answers you thought you would. So the very first thing that I'd love you to think about is, who brings joy to your timeline? Joy. Not, oh yeah, I don't mind them being there. No, these are the people that when they phone you, no matter how busy you are, you stop and you have that lovely sense of, oh, great, we're going to chat. These are the people that when you're whizzing through your timeline on social media and one of their posts comes up, you stop. You might even go back and look at it properly, and you know it's going to make you feel good. These are the people who do things spontaneously, who support you, who tell you you look great, who perhaps share an interest, who when you're in the office, as they walk past your desk, you don't even need to say something to each other. You just smile and you both instantly feel better. And if you're struggling to think, who are those people? Don't add names for the sake of it. Maybe this is an area where you need to change your timeline. The second question, these people bring drama to my timeline. Now, what do I really mean by this? I am not suggesting, and anybody who knows me would tell you it's not who I am. I'm not suggesting that if somebody's life is in crisis, you turn your back on them. Far, far from that. What I am saying is, who are the drama creators? Who are the performers on steroids? You know, the ones that no matter what, you just know, oh yeah, there's got to be a drama. you allowing them the space to continue that story, and you giving space in your timeline, which is not limitless. It is not limitless. You're giving space in your timeline to that. That needs to be reviewed, because if our timeline is full of people who bring drama, that's also feeding something in us that's possibly not very healthy. So who is bringing drama to your timeline? The third thing is, these are the people who bring support to my business and my personal goals. Now, there may well be an overlap with people who bring joy. These may well be the people you consider to be your inner circle, but often not for the same reasons. Somebody may support you in your personal goals who's a dear and close friend, but has no interest really in your business goals, and that's fine. Not everything has to be about growing your business, you know. And likewise, there may be people who really do support what you're doing in business. They like your ethics, they like your style, you've built credibility with them, but they couldn't care less about your personal goals. Does that make them a bad person? Absolutely not. But if they're there to support your business goals or your personal goals, then put their names in this box. Now, for the next bit of the timeline, I want you to think specifically about online. So which of the social media platforms that are out there, and there are many, and there seem to be new ones all the time, like we need somewhere else, but which are the platforms you spend your time on? Don't include the one you signed up for last year and have never even completed your profile. Where are you actually spending your timeline online? Now, I know for me, probably split between 3 places: LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. I spend more time on LinkedIn and Twitter, but Facebook is where I support a couple of groups, and I love doing that. So where are you spending your time? And then identify the one you spend most time on. And ask yourself, why? Why am I spending more time on this one? Is it because it's giving me something I want? Is it because it feeds something that's an interest of mine? Is it actually helping me find business? Wouldn't that be great? And then I'd like you to make a commitment. I'd like you to make your timeline a more positive place. And I suggest you start with the ones online. And that's because more and more, they are the ones we spend most of our working and sometimes even our waking hours on. So if you started with that one you picked that was your first, the one you spend the most time on, what 3 steps could you take that would make it a more positive space? I'll share with you that the first thing I did, mine is Twitter, and the first thing I did was I discovered the mute facility. If you go to my website, you will see that I have shared on my blogs a link to a video of how to do this if you're not sure how to mute words and people on Twitter. But for those of you who are confident on how to do it, please go ahead and do that. There are words that I muted over a year ago that just don't appear in my timeline. Names, accounts, hashtags. You can choose to say, I don't want them in my space. And a really good reason for doing that is because it's very easy to focus on the drama again. So if you're taking the drama out of your timeline by muting and unfollowing, groups or people or just topics, you'll be amazed the difference that makes. The second thing I did was I set times that I was going to visit so that it didn't take up too much of my timeline. So my second commitment to make it a more positive place was that I wasn't going to go on after any big announcements. So, for example, we had a budget here recently. No desire whatsoever to see what other people wanted to say about that, because it would get me angry and riled up and involved in an argument I have no control over. Not good for my mindset. And then the third thing I did to make it a more positive space was I created lists on Twitter of people who lift my timeline. Who do I absolutely know if I look at their tweets, they're going to make me smile, feel joy, be more uplifted, and also make my timeline a nicer place to share with others. You know, one of the things I've always found very odd is how one morning you'll get up feeling great, you'll look at your timeline on social media, and there's a horrible story. It's dreadful, it's sad, or it's depressing, or it's something that makes you really angry. And the first thing we do is share it with everybody else. What a strange and sad way to behave. So how about one of the commitments being, I'm only going to share posts that will lift other people's timeline? And then the last thing I've put on this, on page 12, is I will block time in my diary for my online timeline and stick to only visiting during these times. I know how difficult it is to avoid the sounds and the bings and the notifications, and that's why I turn all of my social media off during the day. I have set times, and no, I'm not going to tell you what they are, but you can see one of them is very clear, because most weekday mornings I'm on Twitter starting my day with friends. But I make specific times during the day where I'm going to look at my timeline on social media. And the rest of the time, it doesn't deserve to be part of my day, because it's going to distract me, it's going to cause me to lose concentration, and it could very well impact my timeline if it's less than than positive. Gosh, that was a slip. So take real thought about this. What is it that you could do in your timeline to change your daily reality? Now, there's an exercise on page 13, and I'd like you to spend the next 2 weeks completing this. That doesn't mean you can't start on the next video if you wish, but this is worth doing over the next 2 weeks, because I really hope it will help you change that timeline. And the exercise says, what is your timeline like? Which part of your mindset is it allowing to flourish? This is a worksheet of daily interactions by time. And those are waking up, before work, the morning, lunchtime, the afternoon, the end of the working day, the evening, before bed, bedtime, and then sleeping. And what I'm asking you to look at, and I've given you an example, is what are you doing that supports your mindset? What are you doing that says, I'm going to make sure that the things I'm putting in to my timeline support me in my desire to be in a growth and open mindset? So my example is the Breakfast Club on Twitter. I know that it feeds my growth mindset. I know that if I start my day with positive people talking about what our plans are for the day or what we achieved yesterday, that my start is going to be better than if I sit and read the news, or I just drift through the general timeline as suggested by the platform itself. So I'd like you to do this for a couple of weeks. It's going to take some conscious effort, but I really believe you will find that if you consciously look at how you could support yourself better in a more nurturing way, you can make changes that are more meaningful. Often after listening to a topic like the one we've been discussing, it's very easy to go straight into performer mindset. I'll take the key points she talked about and I'll do them all, and I'll be performing. But if you do this exercise with real care and think about the people that you could interact with, not who you are, but who you could, the ways in which you could support yourself during the day, I think you'll find there's a massive difference in your mindset. Now, don't do this exercise purely with your social media. Think about who you're spending physical time with. Who are you talking to? You know, how many Zoom calls a day are you having? And are any of those with the camera on so you can see each other? Are you sitting and looking at notes all day, or are you actually looking at the people you're talking to? Think about what you're doing before you go to bed in the evening. You know, the last thing we read or think about is going to impact our mindset, even in our dreams. So how could you change that to support yourself, to feel like, you know what, this feeds the part of my mindset that I really want to work on? And then I've added at the bottom 3 things that I'd love you to be really aware of. Work tasks I have particularly enjoyed this week. It's so easy to find the things we're not happy with in our work. But when instead we can look at what we've loved doing, we have a point of reference to go back to whenever that mindset is wobbling. Conversations I have particularly enjoyed this week. Now, this might be about the person you had the conversation with, or it might be the topic. And maybe you need to be doing more of this type of conversation. And then interactions or situations I have found particularly challenging this week. And I've said situations as well as interactions. Maybe you're finding being on your own, working from home, really challenging now. We've been doing it for a long time. Maybe you've got to that point where you are so done with this. Whatever it is, no performer here. What are you finding challenging? And how might you be able to support that to help you if that arises again next week or the next day? So before you listen to the next session, please start working on that exercise and start completing it. Visit the resources that I shared with you and add to them. Start finding your own. Where could you be listening to music or words or reading something new or hanging out in a bit of nature? And I'd love you to add me to one of your social media timelines and share with me, here's a resource that I've added, so that I can then go on to share it with others. The best places to do that, as I've mentioned, Twitter at Dinah Liversidge, or on LinkedIn, where you'll find that my name on LinkedIn to search me is No Box Thinking. I hope you found the session today useful. And if you're interested in finding out more about one-to-one mindset coaching, do visit my website, dinahliversidge.com. You'll see that I offer various different options, including having recently started a group, which I hope makes it a very affordable proposition for most people. Thanks for joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.